Welcome to Backboard Banter on the board with your hosts, Matt Middleton and Kevin Rayner, where the banter's as ferocious as those Utah Jazz, man. Gotta go back-to-back weeks, bro. 10-3. They just keep winning.
It's actually insane. Like nobody predicted. Maybe Matt was the only one who at least knew they were going to be good, but nobody
Decent.
predicted 10-3. Nobody
No.
predicted top of the West. And like the question now is, can they keep it up? And a lot of people believe that they can do it.
Well, I think like people believe it because it's not really unprecedented wins that they're getting. It doesn't seem to be luck. It doesn't seem, to be by chance for any reason besides the fact that, Lauri Markkanen has developed into a two-way star
Yeah,
in front of our eyes. I mean, he was dominant at Euro basketball, but I didn't even see this coming for him in the NBA, man. Like, absolutely unreal.
we're pretty happy to see it. As fans of just NBA basketball. A few weeks ago, I think Matt and I were talking about how there's so much talent in this league, right? And teams just have to find their identity. Well, the Utah Jazz tapped into the fact that there's talent, and it looks like they have figured out the right formula for success. I'm excited to see if they can keep going or if this is just a slight taste before they plummet downhill. Like, it's going to be really weird to see where this team goes.
Yeah, I think like for them to plummet, they're definitely gonna have to sell off some assets, man.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like they're they're a well constructed roster, and those guys fit into the positional needs that they have. Sometimes actually, like as much as I like our positionless basketball that we play and all of our 6'9" guys, sometimes I think to myself, it'd be really nice to just have another guard scorer, or it'd be really nice to like we went out and got Koloko because we needed that big, right? It does serve you well to have guys who can fit into certain roles. And Laurie's filling in that like score two-way player role. Vanderbilt's been a defensive anchor and energy monster. Conley's got the scorer touch to him. Conley's the facilitator. They got Sexton coming off the bench. Kelly Olynyk's playing out of his mind. Like
Yeah.
it's just fun to see, man. It's really fun to see.
Jazz fans are probably at the highest point. Like, they're super amped to think that they're coming in to watch arguably trash basketball potentially, and now here they are with some legit fire under them. It's just a bunch of guys that weren't thought they were going to get to where they were, and it seems that the opportunity that the Jazz has allowed these players has enabled all of them to kind of maybe not hit their peaks, but step up all of their basketball games. And a 10-3 record is pretty exciting to see from it.
Yeah, and they've got all these first round picks, man. And those Minnesota Timberwolves do not look to be doing well right now. So those could be high picks too.
True.
Like they don't even need to potentially tank for Wembanyama if the Minnesota Timberwolves do afford them.
That's right. That's the thing. You get the free pick off of them, and now they did get two
For
easy
years.
wins off of the Lakers as well. So there's a couple of freebies here and there, but no, as you were saying, they've beaten some legit teams. So we're excited to watch this Utah Jazz. But Matt, it's time we got to talk about takes because just a few weeks ago I had one of the most bold statements that Matt's ever seen. He thought to himself, you started off strong. But then you added the Lakers at the end, and you were,
Yeah.
there's no way this is coming through. And somehow, hallelujah, all three teams that were undefeated got their W's day after day, and the Lakers, thank you, Lakers. They have, what, 2 wins at this point? But at least they got one for me.
Oh man, they are so bad. But they figured out, getting Russell Westbrook off the bench. He actually looks like he's enjoying playing basketball again, which
Oh,
is,
yeah.
I think, the cherry on top for me as a Russell Westbrook fan. Like, I loved him so much in OKC, as you know, and then to see this demise, and then to see like all of the team's struggles get pinned on him. Meanwhile, like AD, I don't know where his offensive game went, but it's
Yeah.
gone. LeBron James, I still think he's the greatest player of all time. The guy's not affecting winning in any capacity right now. He's taken off early. He doesn't look, invested at all. And, I wouldn't be invested either if I was in year 20 and, this was the team around me. So at the end of the day, I'm just happy to see Russ win it or, playing well, even though
Winning,
he's
yeah,
not
yeah.
winning. I mean, he did get those 2 wins initially off the bench, right? But
You can't be like sad, you can't be excited. Like, this Lakers team is in such a weird place that you're kind of just like, we're all just watching it unfold, right? And fans are hoping maybe there'll be a trade, but also like LeBron doesn't seem happy. AD can't seem to be playing. Maybe it's the trade AD and keep Westbrook off the bench train. Like, things are wild in LA.
Well, that's the crazy thing is, man, is like that they're talking about trading Anthony Davis, and I think I know they won the championship, and banners fly forever, as they always say,
Oh
but
yeah,
the cost to get that championship, especially when they spent, that decade with Kobe, like at the end of his career from like 2010 to
yeah,
about, 2018, where they couldn't make the playoffs. They had all these, horrible seasons. That's why they had Lonzo Ball. It's why they had D'Angelo Russell. It's why they had Brandon Ingram. And then to give up all of those assets, including, letting Julius Randle walk in free agency because you couldn't pay him because you had LeBron, and all this stuff to get Anthony Davis and LeBron together, and then for us to be in, 2023, next year, and they've won one
right.
championship. They've won four playoff series because they didn't even win any other playoff series. They didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yep.
They're probably not making the playoffs this year. Like, now they're going to be bad for another decade with no draft picks. So even when they suck, they're not going to be able to pick high in the lottery. Like,
Yeah.
what
And
a garbage general manager
well,
and owner combination that they have right now. Sorry, Genie. So bad.
and it's a hilarious situation because so many teams in this league who have zero championships would absolutely trade all of the things that the Lakers gave up for their one chip. But this is Los Angeles. They have the second most number of championships next to Boston, or they're tied
I,
with Boston at this point, right? So when you make a decision for the Lakers, you're supposed to be doing it to be getting multiple championships. And when LeBron decided to come to LA, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were just like, well, he's getting a couple there. That was just the statement, right? All of the young assets they had, the ability to make it happen, the prime that he was in. Like, it's crazy that it's one championship. And it's the bubble championship that people love to scrutinize as well.
Oh man, I mean, you could do it with every other championship. Did Steph Curry ever really win a real championship? Kyrie and Kevin Love were hurt in the first place. KD had to come in and save him for the next two. And then last year they beat a Celtics team that probably shouldn't have been there if Milwaukee's fully healthy.
Right?
So does Steph Curry really have a champ? Like, get over this argument. It's so bad, man. A win is a win. A championship is a championship. And it's hard to do it any year because of the things that we talk about, because of injuries, because of player movement, because of just, peaks and declines. So, yes, all of them count the same, man. And in fact, I think the bubble championship's harder. You had a 2-month layoff. You had to come back and then get into playoff basketball shape. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole team, the whole league is rusty. Like, I think it's harder, to be honest. So, whatever.
Nailed it right there. I'm 100% with Matt on that side of the NBA bubble. But, we'll talk about the fact that OKC put the Clippers in a body bag for you. Nice, easy win. Now, the Clippers, we can talk about them a little bit really quickly if you're interested, because they seemingly are sticking around. I think they're like 7th or 8th on the table right now. They're doing good despite, not having Kawhi, despite the other injuries. Like, it's wild in Clipper Town.
Well, I think that's the craziest part about where they are, right? Like, again, Paul George is playing very well. He's keeping them above water. He's keeping them in that playoff mix. But Kawhi Leonard is the story of this team.
Yeah.
He is over 15 months removed from an ACL surgery that normally takes athletes about 8 to 12 months to recover from. He's missed 5 straight games for injury management. That just sounds like it's an injury to me. It doesn't sound like injury management. It sounds like it's an injury if you're missing 5 straight games. Like, that's got to be at least 10 plus days of not being able to play.
Mm-hmm.
Is he ever going to be fully healthy again? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that, like, my prediction for them being one of the top teams in the Western Conference is out the window because he's not going to play 40 games. I think he's maybe going to get to 30 games this year, maybe, by the way that it looks. And honestly, I was telling you this, last week. I think him leaving the Raptors was probably the best thing that ever happened for our franchise. Him coming, winning the championship, and then leaving that year,
The whole process.
probably the best thing that ever happened to us. And you couldn't have convinced me of that when it happened. So,
And this is also the chaos of the NBA. The fact that we have to remember that these are real people, right? That we are just throwing around, trying to create the right talent situation to win a championship, yes. But it involves so many things, and the directions that things can go can be changed based on simple decisions, right? The Clippers threw money at Kawhi, and at Paul George, because on paper, they get you to a championship on paper. When they're healthy and they have the talent, it happens. But as you know, as we've seen, the storyline doesn't always go the way that you write it. There's always ways that things go off the paper. So Clippers are in trouble.
5 first-round picks and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, that is a steep price to pay for not even making it out of the second round. Like,
Yeah.
geez, man.
Like if you want to flip the script,
come on, that's so bad.
Like, and if you want to talk about
So
Brooklyn
bad.
now, if we're ready to move over there, because we're talking about this what if, this should have, could have, right? Like, yes, Steve Nash has been fired. Yes, they're moving on. They're trying to figure it out and save this season. But like, how can we not forget that 2 years ago they were this close? A Kevin Durant shoe size away from beating the Bucks without Kyrie, with a 25% James Harden, and they probably would have won a championship, right? And then Steve Nash is a rookie coach with a championship. We're in this whole different debacle. Maybe Kyrie isn't as crazy as it is, but like, we live in the now. We live in the reality we live in, and Brooklyn, much like the Clippers, are in a very tedious situation right now.
Man, are they in a tedious situation? They're in the worst situation. I think they're more of a tire fire than LA is, because at least LA, we know what the issue is. It's bad roster construction, like
Yep.
just pure and straightforward bad roster construction. LeBron James has always been successful with shooters. What do we do? Not add shooting. That's done. Yes,
We got
nailed
it.
it.
Victory.
Bravo. Like, at least like, Brooklyn, like, theoretically should have the pieces. Like, Ben Simmons should be your defensive anchor. Kyrie Irving's your, heat up microwave scorer, can do it from anywhere, can just attack the paint at will. Kevin Durant, again, one of the league's greatest scorers of all time. And then you got a bunch of fillers. Nick Claxton's playing really well.
Yep.
Royce O'Neal, like, they've got players. Seth Curry, Joe Harris. But wow, is just this a big explosion of like what the NBA is turning, has kind of always been a pampered league.
Mm-hmm.
You pamper the superstars, and has this just showed that, like, when you pamper superstars, do they get these bratty mentalities? Are they just these ego driven jerks, man? Because like Ben Simmons, man, you are making such good money to be averaging 5, 6, and 6, bro. Bro, put me on the court. I'll average 5, 6, and 6, okay? I will get some rebounds. I will play pure hustle basketball. Are you kidding me out here?
Now,
I'll do it for a freaking half the price.
In the same number of minutes that Ben's getting, I got to put that out there. We're not just talking
Yeah.
about mad things he's doing. Ben's getting opportunity.
30 minutes a game,
He's
bro.
falling flat. So yeah, I just had to add that in there.
You put me on the court with Kyrie and Kevin Durant, I will make a pass here and there, okay? Come on.
No, the Nets have a lot to figure out, and bringing Jacques Vaughn in, maybe that will bring success.
He was already there.
Yeah, letting him actually take over, right? We were joking about his win-loss record, but we won't bring that up.
Fourth worst coach in NBA history with 200 plus games.
Right at this point, yeah, so good. But at this point, Steve Nash is gone. You have to accept that. His tenure was good, great, bad. It doesn't matter to even talk about what his tenure was like. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to throw it out there, but now we have to move forward, and maybe Jacques is going to have success, right? At least they didn't hire Ime, because that rumor was absolutely insane, and if that had have gone through, this would have been the best conversation to talk about this team. But man,
bro, we got a player who doesn't want to be here. Our best player doesn't want to be here. Wants the GM fired, even though the coach just got fired. Still wants the GM fired. We got a guy who probably shouldn't be playing in the NBA anymore, in Kyrie Irving. Like, I don't even want to get into it. It just makes me so mad at his, just his profound disobedience. Like, he's just like, no, I'm not going to apologize. Like, oh, you guys want to go against me? Like, I'm just going to dig in harder. Like, that is such a bad character flaw. It makes me just hate him so much. Like, him and Nick Friedel at the press conference, when he was just cutting Nick off and not letting him speak, and just with his hoodie on, and just like, well, I'm not going to apologize. Like, I can do whatever I want. Like, you guys, I post on social media all the time. You guys are just going to notice this one. Like, man, like, you are such an arrogant little, like, jerk, man. Like, he probably shouldn't be in the NBA. And then like to bring in Ime Udoka, the potential sex offender, like okay, great, like that's what this
Man.
team really needs right now. I think like I love first things first, Kevin Wildes talks about how they're so far away from actually talking about basketball. Like at least with the Lakers, we're like, okay, they need shooting. Maybe AD needs to be traded. Like Russell Westbrook looks good on the bench. Like we're
Yup.
talking about basketball things. Like this is so far away from
Yeah.
basketball. It is just a complete dumpster fire.
I mean, with Kyrie, it's kind of on brand though, because if you want someone who's out of touch with reality, you've got a basketball star who believes in the flat Earth theory. This is a gravity sport he's playing. Anyways, I'm not gonna get in too far into that, but it's a gravity sport. The way the ball bounces, it goes up and down. Okay, it goes in the hoop, it goes
Dude, the
down. But
arc on your shot, bro.
right, so
Like,
this team is out of touch with reality. Kyrie is out of touch. Something needs to happen in Brooklyn because they've traded their future away. And if they're in a situation in 2-3 years from now where they haven't been able to get back to where they were just a couple years ago, if Kyrie's gone, if Durant's gone, and they have nothing, man, not a good look for Brooklyn at all.
Dude, they're doing the whole Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, burn it to the ground,
Round two.
rebuild again, which is crazy because they actually I'm pretty sure they played us with D'Angelo Russell in the playoffs. Like they gave us some problems, man. Like they were a team. Like they were a squad. D'Angelo Russell's coming off that All-Star appearance. They think they're building towards something, and then they're like, "Oh, we got a chance. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, burn it to the ground, burn it."
Right? That's the way of the NBA, right?
Oh.
You have two forms of really playing it, right? You build through the draft, you tank, you work through your assets and try to create a team, or you do the same kind of starting point, but then you go, that guy, I want him. Here you go. Here's all these assets. That guy, I want him. Here's all these assets. And it can work. LeBron proved that if you're a superstar, you can go to places with other key players, star players, and win championships. And that's kind of the juice that the NBA's been dealing with for the past 10 years. But, you look at the Grizzlies, you look at the Raptors, you look at this Jazz team of forgotten names, right? Like, there are other ways to do it. And I hope that certain GMs and teams, teams in the West, because I don't need the East to get any better. I hope teams in the West are looking at this and can learn some valuable lessons of, there's better ways to build teams than just paying somebody $45 million and expecting them to put up 30 points a night.
Absolutely, man. I mean, like Laurie, like Colin, those guys are both top 10 picks that have been forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I'm a big believer about this in sports that it's not necessarily just about your talent. It's also about the situation around you, because sometimes you're being misused, you're being miscast. And when a coach can unlock you, it's why
Absolutely.
guys, go from out of the league to stars. It's because the right coach finds them, develops their key skills to actually keep them in the game, and they develop on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what's going on with Laurie, and that's what's going on with the Utah Jazz. And I couldn't be happier, man, that the NBA is kind of leaning into that. And then you've got Golden State on the other hand as well, who I think they should be in full panic mode, because Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga have not played any better than they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
James Wiseman looks worse than he did as a rookie. He hasn't given you 5 good minutes of NBA basketball. Steph Curry is carrying the squad on his back, and Draymond and Klay look old, man. They look super old. They look like, I understand Klay's had the injuries, so I don't want to get too aggressive with him, clap back at Charles Barkley and stuff. Not the same guy. I get it, man. It's been 2 years of some pretty catastrophic injuries, but you just don't look like the Klay Thompson that won those championships. And if you're not the Klay Thompson that won those championships, we can't count the Warriors as a contender. And they're so lucky they won that one last year, because I don't think they're going to be in the mix for a while.
Man, every time I read an article talking about how great Steph Curry is doing, how amazing his shooting's back, I'm like, guys, look at the record. Yes, these are just pieces that are put in front of us, so we don't actually look at what's actually going on in Golden State. Because I don't think I'm with you in the terms of panic, because I still do love Wiggins, and I think that considering the right situations and the aggressive moves that, sorry Draymond, get out of here, there are some things that need to be done for Golden State. But yes, they're getting pretty close to panic mode considering where they are.
I get that, man, but like, what kind of value are you going to get for Draymond Green at this point? Like, he's one, looking for a massive contract in the
Yep.
offseason, and two, he's not even close to the type of player that he once was, or has been able to even get close to the contract potential that he wants. And then again with Clay, like, you're not going to get much value out of him. So you've got Steph Curry and you've got Andrew Wiggins, and as much as we like both those guys, it's not a great point to start
Mhm.
with. I mean, Poole hasn't taken a step at all. People thought he was going to take that Steph Curry trajectory, and he doesn't seem to have done that just yet. But like at that point, man, like they don't have much else going on the roster besides Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins, and it's not enough. It's
No.
not.
Well, they're definitely a middle team now in the playoff race in the West now. They're not thinking, when you look at the fact that the Blazers are still up there, even with Damian Lillard's injury, the Suns are doing okay, all things considered. The Grizz are 8-4, right? The Mavs are 6-4, right? All these teams that are surviving and doing a little bit more than this team really is.
Denver, Memphis, Dallas, and I would even take Phoenix at this point, and Utah right now, apparently, because Utah's playing out of their mind.
Yep.
But all of those teams are above Golden State, not only in the playoff picture, but just like in terms of where
Could have
the
the,
rosters are right now.
could have the
Because
Pelicans even.
yeah, because they're all developing, getting better, whereas they seem to be getting worse, unfortunately.
It's not good. And,
Hey man, they were a dynasty.
That's it, right? You can't be on top of the world. The fact that there's the upper salary limit discussion happening, it's because Golden State pays $500 million plus dollars in luxury tax, and we saw the fruits of that. We saw the championship after championship, the glorious victories that they went through as a team, and this is unfortunately what happens at the end of a dynasty. You have your aging superstars, but nobody else is really around anymore. So Golden State, yeah, they're not what they're going to be anymore.
Which is kind of funny though, man, because like they've been talked about as this like team that was able to reset. I remember last year, like
Yeah.
listening to Colin Coward, like because he's a big California guy, bragging about how smart this team is. They were able to reload. They lost Kevin Durant. They loaded up on young players and still won another championship. And now they're going to be, with Poole and Moody and Kuminga
Yeah.
and Wiseman, they're going to be another dynasty. And I I think another thing that really stunts player development is not playing in actual games in meaningful minutes. And so when you get top picks, like that's great, but they still have to play. They still have to be on the floor. James Wiseman has played what, 50 games since high
Maybe.
school?
Maybe
Like
like
maybe.
4 years or so.
Yeah, since high school,
Yeah.
man. Like he was drafted a couple years ago. He sat out that whole season at Memphis because of the whole tampering scandal with his
Yeah.
recruitment. Um, Moses Moody didn't get any minutes last year, and if he did, it was at the end of games and scrub minutes. Same with Kaminga. Very very few minutes. You need to keep playing these guys. They need to develop, and that's how they're like. It's kind of like how I see Scotty Barnes. Like Scotty Barnes, we now expect him to just be that go-to scorer, be Pascal Siakam. But he's never had to play that role just yet, in the
Mm-hmm.
NBA. Last year he was awesome, but he was more in like filler minutes. Like he would find the niche the team needed that night and
Yeah.
he'd fill that role. Whereas like now we're being like, you control the ball, you be a point guard. And I'm loving the handles, I'm loving step backs, I'm loving his moves. It's just not quite there yet, which is fine, but he's still young. That's why we still play him like this. And like, you gotta lower your expectations initially. Maybe Golden State, because they have to play them so many minutes, they'll be good by the end of the year. I don't see it.
It's a tough team, right? And you think about how high up Golden State used to be, and the Western Conference is a dangerous place. There's a lot of teams that are on the rise. Is there any other Western Conference teams that you want to bring up and discuss? Because, like, yeah, the Timberwolves are faltering, and we've seen a little bit of things here and there, but
Bro,
conversations
the
for another
Utah
day.
Jazz got so much to give up Rudy Gobert and everybody, even you, man. I did not like this trade, but then everything that I was reading, everybody is convincing me, oh, they're going to be a good regular season team. So I stuck to they're not going to be a good playoff team. But man, they might just not be a good team. Anthony Edwards just sitting there with his hands on his hips during a play, doesn't even move for the whole possession. Like Karl Anthony Towns commenting on his Popeyes diet, like D'Angelo Russell really regressing while he's been there. In
Seriously.
Minnesota, they were supposed to be best friends. Minnesota D'Angelo Russell, Carl Anthony Towns. Nope. This team is like it's patchwork is what it is, and they just gave up, king's ransom for a player that doesn't move the needle, and that's exactly what I said when it happened, and it's exactly what's proven to happen.
This is the main reason why we as Raptors fans did not want the Rudy Gobert trade. But like, man, I bet you want Jared Vanderbilt back now, Minnesota. Like, unfortunate as it has been, like the Twin Towers story over here has not worked for the Wolves. They've not figured it out, and whether that's egos dealing with Ant, whether that's egos, it could be anything. There's so much, but right now what we've seen is it's not a successful experiment, and for what you gave up, as you said earlier, that's not gonna be good in the future.
No, man, because like really, it was like this was their year to be, a championship contender. This was, probably going to be their best shot. Um, bad, bad.
Well, and I still remember, thinking about it. Like my biggest comment for Rudy Gobert was, how is he going to succeed in a new system? Right? He's been with the Jazz. He's been the centerpiece of the way the Jazz plays basketball for years. So whether it's him having issues integrating, whether it's the team being able to integrate him into their squad, like there's so many different ways you can look at it. But the T-Wolves, time will tell if they're going to be in trouble, or they might figure it out and have a super successful second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm talking like it's fait accompli, and it's
Yeah.
only 10 games into the season out here. So, you Washington last year. Washington, huge start. They were number one team in the Eastern Conference. They're playing out of their minds, but nobody really took them seriously. That's kind of how I see Portland right now.
Yeah.
They're playing out of their minds. I think Shaden Sharp needs to enter the dunk competition. That man can fly. Canadian basketball getting really excited with
Yes,
we
sir.
got Shaden, we got Wiggins, we got Murray, we got Shea Gilgeous, and like that's not even like mentioning all the young kids coming up and all of the auxiliary roster players that we have around the NBA. Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's flip to the East now. Let's talk about the undisputed best team in the league right now with the undisputed best player, the Milwaukee Bucks, who are 10-1, who started the season 9-0, who probably would be 11-0 right now if they were having Chris Middleton on the court, because we can't forget that their second best player technically is not there.
Bro, I mean, Giannis didn't play last night. Drew Holiday didn't play the other night. And
Javon
Chris
Carter
Middleton
had
didn't play.
36 points last
And
night.
they beat Oklahoma City. I mean, I guess Oklahoma City's not a great roster or anything, but they still got Shea. They still got Lou. They still got some pieces. Josh Giddey. But the fact that Milwaukee is doing so well, they've got to be the favorite to win the championship.
Absolutely.
And Giannis isn't even playing like he's not even playing out of his mind. Like he's just being Giannis, he's averaging 30, 10 and 10, just like he always does, or 10 and 6, whatever. Um, the guy's just a freak, and that team is easily.
We've lost Matt here, but I'll keep going on. He'll join me in a sec. This team is wild. They're going to be so good. There's always the narrative that teams are going to coast through the regular season, that they're just going to relax. Okay, Matt's back. Cool. I'm talking about how the Giannis team is, they're expected to coast, to relax, right? And for a
Oh
team
yeah,
the team that looks so casual and is in that state of, yeah, we're relaxing our way to the playoffs, for them to be getting the wins that they're getting is pretty epic.
man, it's. I said this at the beginning of the year. I thought they were the best team in the NBA, and I thought Giannis. I clearly think Giannis is the best player, and it's not. Luka's pushing, man. Luka's getting close. I'll give Luka that. But yeah, they're a fantastic team. They're gonna be the class of the East. They'll probably walk to the championship, 5-1 series or 4-1 series at most.
I mean, if Brook Lopez can keep playing the way that he's been playing, the man has been unreal. 36% from three. He's been getting over 2 blocks a game. This team, people always think it's Giannis, 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 but Giannis is the best help defender in the NBA. So if you don't have static pillars of defense to work around, you can't abuse, the potential of Giannis in the same way. And Brook Lopez has come back with a vengeance and ready to go. So I'm watching this Bucks team. I don't think anyone is beating them anytime soon.
Nah, man, they're too strong, which is Just makes me happy, man.
It's a scary thing. Okay, so in the East, there's not too much to talk about. Like we could discuss the 76ers failings. Harden's going to be out for another month, but I don't really care to talk about Philadelphia. So unless you're interested, we don't have to go there. But
Nah.
like, Boston's doing well. The Hawks are playing okay. The Cavs are doing great with Mitchell. Like the East is kind of exactly what we expected it to be, barring, Brooklyn falling apart and, Philly having the troubles that they've had out of the gate.
Yeah, I think, and the Knicks have been better than we expected, but again,
True.
teams haven't played the full, NBA lineup yet. So once they start getting into the full rhythm, once they played every single team, some teams have had easier strength of schedule. You're maybe the team that you're playing that's like a higher tier team, like the Milwaukee's, the Boston's, are coming off back to backs, and you get
Yep.
them on those kinds of nights. So it's still pretty early. But yeah, man, I think I've really enjoyed the NBA season so far, but I really want to just talk about our Raptors, man, because talk about Jekyll and Hyde performances, bro. Like, come
Ugh.
on.
I
That
can't disagree,
Philadelphia
man.
game I went to was so bad to watch. We just so disengaged, and like it was like that last night, man. For the majority of the Rockets game last night, we were just disengaged. We just didn't care. And then, like, thank goodness we have way more talent than them, because that's the only reason we won.
It was a weird 2 weeks because it was 2 weeks because this guy was stuck in Banff climbing trees and forgot his power cable for his computer, like the dope moment. Anyways, it's been 2 weeks and the Raptors have had some incredible wins, like the game against the Spurs and the Hawks, two blowouts to follow that
Bro, back
76
to
game.
back.
Yeah, it was unreal to see.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And especially like the Spurs, as much as we thought they were going to be awful this year, and as much as they don't have like a top-notch player, the beautiful game of basketball is back in San Antonio. The
Absolutely.
the just the number of passes that they make before scoring a bucket, the the number of dump offs, the motions, the movements.
Yep.
This is Greg Popovich at his finest. It is such a cool team to watch, man. They have just been so
Yeah.
fluid. And then we beat them by 43.
Yeah. Well, they're such a fun team because it's almost like every single player on that roster is like, cool, we're all on the same like level. We're all got the same playing field. So like we're looking for the best shots, the best opportunities, rather than just being like, oh, it's your turn to shoot. Okay, yeah, go get your buckets. You know what I mean? So yeah, Greg Popovich, man, he's got the right kids under him right now, and this team is a lot of fun. I've caught a couple of their games, a couple of quarters as well outside of that, and it's you're tanking, yes, but it's a good time to be a Spurs fan.
Oh man, like they're playing hard. They're playing to win. Like I don't think they have enough talent to win enough games in this league to win 30 games. But man, are they playing hard, and it's really fun to watch, man. If I honestly feel like our offense could use some of that. We have so many talented players, and yet it seems like it's the offense that you alluded to, where it's you take your shot, I take my shot. You take your shot, I take my shot. And that is it's so frustrating to watch as a Raptors fan, because we have so many good players and we just don't go for the best play.
And it's a combination of things, right? It's a combination of the team is very play oriented, running certain plays to get what you want. And it's some of the beautiful magic that we get to see is when that play fails and there's 6 seconds left on the clock, and we get to see a little bit of a rush moment where the boys make it up and come up with something cool. But unfortunately, with the Raptors, a lot of times that falls flat, and we end up with a 3 pointer that is contested that gets bricked down. When the cuts we've seen from OG this season to get to the basket inside, like there's a lot of opportunity and potential, and without being the coaching staff ourselves, without knowing what their focus is, yeah, we can dream and we can want this and that because we do. Like when we see the ball movement in these forms with the Raptors, it's awesome, it's incredible, and we have the right talent. But I think that there's just too much of a box that our team gets stuck into, and the creativity isn't allowed to flow out of it.
Yeah, I think that like we kind of focus too much on threes. For some reason, we really, really, really want to hit threes. And like I get it, it's a 3-point league. It's good for the playoffs and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But there were multiple times last night in the Rockets game where we had a possession that we got multiple rebounds on and shot multiple open threes. Like I'm talking like
Yeah.
guys were wide open. Brick, brick, brick. Again, down the court, multiple rebounds, multiple open threes, brick, brick, brick. And it's like, guys, we're a 2-point team. We're a bunch of 6'9" forwards.
Get it in
Let's
and dunk it.
crash the bucket. Let's pull a Scotty Barnes where he just absolutely backs that man down and then just one hand dunks it on Nikola Vucevic. Like that's the basketball I want to see from our team on a consistent basis. That should be our go-to play. That should be our driving force, especially when we're up in games, when we're trying to come back too as well, because twos are better than nothing at the end of the day. And like, unfortunately, we're not a 3-point shooting team. That's just not what we are. We can hit them. We're not that.
The lack of Siakam was missing against the Rockets. That is for sure. You know, him going down with his injury, with that groin injury, he's going to be at least 2 weeks as of, I guess, like 6 days ago now. So we'll see. He's probably going to be coming back at the end of November. But I've enjoyed watching the guys get to play that he has. Koloko getting the starts. Man had, what, 6 blocks in a game this week? Like, he's been
Chicago,
looking,
baby.
yeah, he's been looking clean. We've been excited to see him play. And yes, he's a classic rookie big man. He gets fouls a lot because he's trying to figure out what to do with these giant 7-foot wingspan arms. Like, he's got some things to work on. But man, does it feel good to have an interior presence again. Like, yes, we kind of had this with Serge. We kind of had this with Mark. But in reality, we haven't had defense and presence like this since JV days. So I've been really happy for Koloko and the run he's been getting.
Man, I think like that Chicago game and that Chicago series is a testament to like kind of our season, right? On that Sunday night, we come out, we absolutely smoke them.
Yeah.
We look like it's not even a question who the better team is. Koloko is, a monster inside. OG, Siakam, Fred, like we are locking down DeRozan. They can't do anything on our home court. But when we were in Chicago, man, they adjusted.
Yeah.
And DeMar, as soon as he saw the double team, kicked. And every time we doubled him, I think he had like 4 shot attempts into the third quarter at one point. Like he was not shooting the ball because every time we were crashing to double, and then he'd kick. Why don't we change the strategy, bro? Why, Nick? Nick, I like you as a coach, man. I think you've done some really good things for our roster. We've won a championship with you. You need to coach better. Like I've been frustrated watching some of the decisions that he's made. Now maybe it's early, maybe he's trying to feel out his roster a little bit
Let's
more
hope.
and try to get a sense. But like there are some times where I'm like, you need to like pull that strategy because even like last night, why are we doubling anyone on the Rockets? Why?
Reasonable.
Who on the Rockets besides Jalen Green do we need to double? And honestly, if we put OG Anunoby on Jalen Green, I'm sorry, we shouldn't need to double anyone.
Or Scotty, and like that's the thing.
Well,
I'm
Scotty's
with you, man.
ankle's hurt, so he's getting blown by a little bit right now.
It's true.
But OG for sure, man.
Okay, let's talk about OG then. The leading steals leader in the league. And if you don't know,
DPOY, baby.
he better be DPOY. But I have to say, the man is averaging 3.1 steals a game through 12 games. Second place, Matt? 2.3 steals a game.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, it's Fred VanVleet, by the way. So that's pretty sweet, pretty exciting. Yeah. But the man has gone off. You know what I mean? And to add to that, because obviously the defense is big. He's shooting 40% from 3 this year on 5 attempts a game. A lot of that I think has been skewed by this, past couple of games without Siakam around. But this is the step that we've wanted to see from OG. So yes, it took a serious injury from our all-star caliber starting player to really get that out from him, and we've seen more and more injuries show up. But like, this is Raptors basketball. This is what we're supposed to be. When somebody goes down, we have the players to step up and do what they do. And OG has shown that if our 1 and our 2 are down, he can do it. And that's what I like to see.
Bro's been a monster defensively. He has like 3 steals a game, but they're like strip steals. Like the guy's just like straight up looking at him, and OG's like, "Give me that! Like I'm just gonna take this from you."
Yep.
0 chance, which is like the best play because he just immediately stops their offense and in transition going the other way for an easy fast break. Like it's just. He's been so great on that end, and I'm so happy to see his offensive game starting to flourish. Like last night, I'm pretty sure he had like 25 points. he was hitting the threes. He's turned himself into a really great catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Um, it's just phenomenal to see, man. He's showing us why we believe that he could be the next
Yep.
coming of Kawhi Leonard, man. And Freddie and the boys just love to see it. So
The thing that really does it for me is, we have this conversation every few weeks when we're lucky to see it. It's the players on this team understanding their roles, regardless of what their role is. It's understanding that. And OG's always wanted to come out and do more. He's wanted to have better handles, more of this. At the start of the season, we showed that once again his handles are maybe not quite there, but he knows what he's extremely good at. And he has really leaned into that in the past 2 weeks, I think, and that has really allowed the best of OG to come in the forefront. And for us to be the best team that we're going to be right now, especially with the injuries we're dealing with, we need OG locked in and playing like he is. So how can you not be pumped for the guy?
absolutely, and he's finishing so much stronger than he used to.
Yeah.
It's been unbelievable. He has at least one hard poster dunk a game now, where I feel like it was very rare to see that from him. It was like maybe twice a season. It feels like it's once a game. He's coming in, flying in hard, and he's gonna dunk that ball. Doesn't matter who's in front of him, which you gotta love to see it, man. OG has been great. I've loved to see Koloko. Bro, I called the Koloko pick like months in advance. I'm so pumped about this kid right now. He's showing this amazing trajectory, of a guy who just like Siakam, who couldn't, picked up basketball later in his life, and
Hmm.
just all of a sudden it's this exponential takeoff. So like, future's real bright, man. Future's
He's
real bright.
he's a smart kid who knows his role and what to play in, and he's the perfect guy. I like to think of him not quite similar to like a Thad Young type of mentality, but the way that he thinks, I think, roots. I look at Thad versus the Rockets last night. And if you don't know this, the guy didn't have a point last night. I don't know if you've
Oh,
read this stat line,
yeah,
but
yeah.
he was 0-3 with 0 points, 8 rebounds, plus 24, highest plus minus of the Raptors on the floor. So once again, you see a guy who's coming off the bench who's doing all the intangibles to get his minutes and to be on the floor, and you don't just need to put up points. So I think Koloko has that mentality, but also has the ability to slam it down when it matters.
Bro, Thad Young, last night, I think was one of his best games as a Raptor.
Absolutely.
Uh, Working the action through him is unbelievable because he's such a heady player. Great defensively, was a monster on the glass. Um, you know what, man? He had like a Dennis Rodman type game, right?
Yeah.
Where you don't need to score the ball to affect the game because you have your scorers on your team, and that's not what you're paid to do for this franchise. What you're paid to do is play defense, to run actions, and to rebound. And man, did he! Oh, it was
Yep.
perfect last night. And Otto Porter Jr., man, with those back-to-back threes in the clutch
Ugh.
was just too nice, man. It was too nice. The pass from Scotty over two defenders, but Otto, man, making it look automatic.
It,
Not
it
just
makes me
that's what we
so
need in the
happy.
playoffs. Like that is the exact player and the exact moment that we need in the playoffs.
When I made the comment in the offseason that the Otto Porter signing might be the biggest free agent signing the Raptors have made, it's because of that reason right there. It's because of what he provides for this roster, and I'm so glad to see him healthy and getting back to it. But Scotty Barnes, man, I got to bring up my most fun Scotty Barnes stat of the week, okay? We're going to take you all the way back to that game against the Hawks last Monday where, Trey put up that triple-double in that loss. It was a beautiful moment. But the coolest thing to me, Matt, was that 10 years to the day before this game, Kyle Lowry had his debut game for the Toronto Raptors. His stat line: 21 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. That was Scotty's stat line on that game against the Hawks on Monday. From the old GROAT to the new, it's the craziest stat line, but I had to bring it up because it's the weirdest thing I've
Hey,
read in the
man.
past 2 weeks.
Honestly, he is the baby goat, and what I think has been disappointing for most Raptors fans, and like for me specifically as well, is that he was so much of a better scorer than we anticipated coming into the league that we thought that it would just kind of pop this year.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, what he's showing is what his scouting report actually portrayed about him. That he does struggle to score the ball when he's being tasked as the main creator and main
Mm-hmm.
facilitator. That's fine. He's 21 years old. He's only going to get better.
Yeah.
His handles have actually looked quite nice for what they were last year. The step back threes, man, are actually looking pretty fire.
Yep.
If he can get that consistently, he might become unstoppable, which is just, perfect for Raptors fans. And he hasn't been amazing like we thought, but his season is not worse than it was last year. Probably about the same. I think his energy is lower. Like he doesn't have that, rookie excitement for every single game. I'm sure he's dealing with that injury. He seems to be
Yeah.
getting on the refs a little bit. But hey, man, it's still early. There's still plenty of time in the season, and I'm not worried about Scotty Barnes because he's too good at finding what we need and filling that role game in and game out that like he's gonna eventually be a superstar.
He's gonna make it, right? Unfortunately, I mean, not for us, but unfortunately for him, we got Siakam on the roster, we got OG on the roster, we got Fred on the roster, we've got these guys who have established themselves in Toronto, and he can't just come into a place, like OKC, like the Rockets, and be that star right off the bat, which on the one hand maybe isn't good for him, but on the other hand, because we're the Toronto Raptors and we've proven what the capabilities and the ability to bring people up from wherever they are, it's a good thing, I think, for Scotty, and I think you look at the relationship that he and OG have created, because apparently they're like best friends, which is amazing, and that makes me so happy because Scotty's going to continue to rise, and OG is still young and is also continuing to do what he's doing. So irregardless of what happens with Pascal and Fred and all the other things, like those two guys alone get me amped for the future. And the fact that we're sitting 7-5, one game better than last year, like we're doing pretty good right now.
Man, honestly, it's a good start to the season. We've had our ups and downs. We're playing like that Jekyll and Hyde role with our team. Nick Nurse is still trying to figure it out, trying to feel it out. Got to shout out Banton last night. I think he was one of our best players off the bench. He had huge energy and got our team going when we were in a big hole. So I wanted to shout him out. But man, I'm not too worried about this franchise. For us, it's all about the playoffs. Like we know we're a good roster. We know that we're going to, barring some kind of massive misfortune, be in the playoffs. So is our roster better equipped to win playoff basketball? And so that answer is not going to come until end of April, early May. Just is what it is.
Right, and your comment about Banton is great because we're over here as Raps fans going, hey Nick, you're gonna need your bench. You got to start playing them more. Well, looks like Precious is gonna miss at least 5 or 6 games. I don't expect Pascal back to the end of this month. Let's give Fred games off, please. Let's give him some time off. We don't need him running 40 minutes a game. Like
since he's come back, Freddie's been an animal.
Unreal.
Oh my goodness, he's been an animal. He didn't start the season hot, but bro's been on fire. I mean, he's looking like all-star Freddie. So
he had that
we knew it was in him.
Yeah, he had that 1 for 11 game, and people were like, "Oh my god, that's happening." And then he's like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go 5 for 11, 6 for 8, 7 for 12 on threes in my next few games." Like we're not worried about Fred. We just want him to play a little less so his knees can survive. But what I'm saying is that we're gonna see more Banton. We're gonna see more Otto. We're gonna see more not Precious, but we're gonna see more Boucher, and we're gonna see more Thad. There is time, and the fact that Koloko is gonna be the starting center for the foreseeable future, that's only more beneficial for him to continue to work on his foul situation. So the next few weeks for us are going to be really interesting as Raptors fans as we see kind of the meat and potatoes of what our squad really is. And the nice thing on top of that is that apparently our schedule is going to be a little bit easier over the next little while. So, I'm not going to complain against that.
Hey, man, I mean, looking at OKC, Pacers, and Pistons, those are 3 of the quote-unquote worst teams in the NBA. And then, the Heat, 4-7 at this point. They're not playing too well. Maybe we get a win there. It's a good week, I'm excited to watch some Raptors basketball. I'm excited to watch this OKC game on Friday, tomorrow night. You gonna make a prediction, bro?
Oh, man. Well, I was doing a little bit of research, trying to figure out where we were, and I think it's time, man. The Detroit Pistons, Dwayne Casey, look. It'll be game 99 between these franchises that's coming up this week on Monday. I think it's time to end, 3 seasons ago when we won our championship, we beat the Pistons in every game that year, and ever since we've lost them all. So I think it's time for it to change. We're going to beat the Pistons this week, the end of an era. New Age Raptors, please.
Bro, like locked in a loss right there, but okay.
Please.
I'm gonna go with the Lakers, man. I think the Lakers. I think have 2 or 3 games this week. They'll still be sitting at 2 wins come next Thursday. Just is what it is, especially without LeBron, bro.
Oh, man, poor Lakers. But yeah, we'll be back this time next week. I'll definitely be around. I'm not going on any trips. So, anything else, my friend, or shall we close out?
No, man, you're good to wrap us up.
Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Board Sports. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, whatever you need, and check out theboardsports.net for new episodes and blog posts.
And we'll talk to you next time.